You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.
There is now a bill in the U.S. Congress to restore the Glass-Steagall Act, which was put in February 1st by 4 representatives at a press conference. Marcy Kaptur of Ohio is the lead sponsor, Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, Walter Jones from North Carolina, and Tim Ryan from Ohio all, spoke. And we have 32 sponsors on the bill in the House, and that's complemented by resolutions that have now been introduced into 11 state legislatures. Although those resolutions call for even more than Glass-Steagall, they are calling for Glass-Steagall, but then they are calling for the creation of a national infrastructure bank modeled on the successful bank of Alexander Hamilton and John Quincy Adams, Abraham Lincoln, and Franklin Roosevelt. And it would solve the conundrum that's facing the Trump administration and the Congress, which is A, what is it that we have to build, and B, how are we going to pay for it without taxpayer money?
We're good.
No appropriations from Congress. So we have resolutions that have gone into a bunch of states on that, complementing the Glass-Steagall legislation in the Congress. And there is now a big debate and discussion going on in the Congress over these policies.
Okay. So this right here now, a lot of people don't know what Glass-Steagall is. Could you refresh those that do not know what it is, please?
Yeah, no problem. It's very simple, actually. Glass-Steagall is the law that was passed in 1933, which occurred at the point that the country was in the grip of the Great Depression. The banking system had shut down. I mean, literally shut down.
Yeah, we were confiscating gold.
There was 25% unemployment. The country was in, the throes of absolute, pandemonium. Glass-Steagall simply said that the federal government is going to assume responsibility for protecting commercial banks. That is, the banks where people make their deposits. Those banks who will take deposits and make loans for business, industry, and production will get federal deposit insurance, and that's how FDIC was created as half of the Glass-Steagall Act. But the banks will be immediately broken up, and the only part of the bank that will be federally protected is the part of the commercial bank that takes deposits and makes regular old-fashioned loans.
Right.
Everything else will have to be separated out. So Glass-Steagall said, boards of directors will have to be broken up, and any part of a bank that is involved in taking deposits and investing in securities, underwriting securities, issuing stocks and bonds, involved in insurance operations, involved in real estate, or any financial wheeling and dealing like what we call today derivatives,
right?
All of that will have to be separated out, and any bank that doesn't comply within 1 year, those bank officials will go to federal prison for 5 years.
I'd like to see that happen, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I know. Well, it did happen.
Well, yeah, back in
the
33.
1980s.
Oh,
but anyhow, that's Glass-Steagall. It's 37 pages long. It's very, very short. And the bill to restore Glass-Steagall is 5 pages long.
Now,
so we're not talking, a 2,300-page Dodd-Frank, which is, deliberately complex so that nobody complies with anything, or any other long legislation. Roosevelt was very clear, by the way. He said no long bills.
I wish
just make the point.
I wish that was true in so many cases now, but that's not. Like you said, we have so many long-winded bills, and We ain't got time for that, as they say.
Correct.
We have to
You're right.
pass it to see what's in it. And I'm going, oh, wait a minute now. I hate that. Now, here's what I'm curious about. Now, Glass-Steagall, a lot of people don't realize that is what's causing a lot of the inflation regarding the Toxic Asset Recovery Program, TARP, where $700 billion was loaned to, quote, banks too big to fail. And this is the same thing where if we don't do something like this, we're going to repeat 2008 all over again, and it's going to make 2008 look like a walk in the park.
Yeah, I mean, the big banks are bigger than they were in 2008.
Yeah.
They hold 45% of all of the assets or 50% of the assets. These are the top 6 banks. They hold 45% of the deposits, but the top 6 banks hold $230 trillion in derivatives.
Wow.
That is the off-balance. I mean, and these are, devices that are used deliberately to, A, hide gambling operations called hedges.
Right.
And B, many of them are not reported and not included in the capital ratios in most of the big banks. And so you've got all the big banks, exactly as you said, you're 100% correct, poised to bring the whole system down again.
Yeah.
And not only in the U.S., but in Europe. And because of the repeal of Glass-Steagall, the big European banks that are just as, rotted out as the U.S. banks now have branches in the U.S., and the top 50 banks between the European and U.S. communities are all interconnected. So like the failure of Deutsche Bank, which is a hopelessly bankrupt British bank with a German name that's really now based in Britain, that could bring the whole system down.
That could.
The IMF issued a report on that in August and said it could bring the whole system down.
Yep. They sure now.
And that's not even a U.S. bank. And the same is obviously true of J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, et cetera, et cetera. Although Goldman Sachs apparently moved its entire bank into the White House and they now run the West.
I wasn't going to go there. It sure seems it does seem to be that way. My curiosity is right now is a lot of people are worried about the future, and when Donald Trump got elected, everybody seemed to breathe not everybody, a sigh of relief that we didn't have Hillary Clinton in office. Some people were upset that she didn't get in office. But in a way, I'm looking at, are they setting him up for a failure? Is what I'm worried about. Are they purposely wanting him to fail? The banks, where they can take control of our monetary system. I hear rumors that our dollar may crash in the next few months, and I'm just wondering if this is something you've heard about, or anything that may be involved with that, or am I just speaking out of fear?
No, you're absolutely in the right ballpark. I mean, the problem is that no matter who is in the White House, whether it's Trump, whether it's Hillary, whether it's Pence, whether it's anybody, if we don't deal with the 800-pound gorilla in the room, namely this Wall Street cartel, it doesn't really matter. You can't tiptoe around this thing. And they have moved an immense amount of their top, firepower into the immediate precincts of the executive branch. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary. Gary Cohn has much more power, and he was number 2 at Goldman Sachs, really probably number 1 at Goldman Sachs. He's now directly running all the advising to the president. Chow at Treasury was Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs' lawyer is now the head of the SEC, and, on and on. And then you have a business advisory council, Jamie Dimon, of J.P. Morgan Chase, who is just a serial criminal. I mean,
he is. I'm going to say that's the most.
This is the crowd that moved in, and so would they set up Trump? Yes, absolutely. Do they know how to manipulate him? Absolutely.
Are they going to?
I will tell you one interesting thing. There is a petition campaign going on around the country, a letter campaign actually, started by Bernie Sanders delegates to the Democratic Convention, called Our Revolution, appealing to Trump and appealing to Republicans to carry out what is in the Republican platform, namely implement Glass-Steagall. It's in both platforms. Democratic and Republican, so they're appealing across the aisle to mobilize, Tea Party Republicans, regular Republicans, to support Glass-Steagall. And I'm going to Congress as soon as we're done, and I'm turning in, petitions from all over the country. So, no, we're trying to unite the best people in both parties to make this happen.
Well, that's something that needs to be done, because united we stand, divided we fall. And right now, the biggest reason that I'm thinking that they're trying to, they don't want Glass-Steagall is because they want to keep things just the way they are, maybe, and they may be losing money if Glass-Steagall and gets implemented. They would lose power and prestige.
Yeah, it's a question of power, and also what you said a minute ago. I mean, they know also that this system could crumble, and they want to be in a position to bail themselves out and continue to run the show.
Wow.
They know that their banks are hopelessly bankrupt. I mean, look, in April of last year, 11 banks failed their, so-called
stress
living
test.
will test, and their, failed their stress test earlier.
Right.
But the problem is not each bank. The problem is they all take in each other's derivatives. They all take in each other's dirty laundry. They are all 100% interconnected. And the Office of Financial Research, which is part of the Treasury Department, did a report on this. If one goes, they all go. And the situation now is that they simply want to bail out their system at all costs.
So what would you recommend we only got about 30 seconds left. What would you recommend to the average?
The best thing to do, let me give you a phone number.
Please, thank you.
Which is this number, 703-999-5846. 703-999-5846. Stu Rosenblatt. We'll send people the petition, and I'll send people a background piece on Glass-Steagall and rebuilding the economy. I'll send it for free. People can gather signatures in their area, mail them into me, or email them in, and we'll take them to Congress.
Sounds good. So,
which is where I'm going right now.
703, so they can call 703-994-5846.
No, 999.
999. 5846. Make sure I got it right.
Yeah.
703, and I'm making sure people hear that. 703-999-5846, and you can give them information to collect.
I'll mail it to them or email it to them, and I also send out a free weekly email update on this. I'm happy to put I have thousands and thousands of people, a lot of elected officials, a lot of political leaders on my list. Happy to put them on, happy to send them material and coordinate with them in all the states.
Thank you so much, Stu, for calling. And I'll just, if you want to get up with him, 703-999-5846. Get involved before it's too late, because I got a feeling they're moving really, really fast to make things go not the way we want them to go.
and we're moving very fast to make sure that doesn't happen.
That's exactly right. Thank you so much, Stu. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.
Sure. Thanks for your time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
James Arnold Center, we fix it right.